All right, here we go. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Senior here with you. A lot coming up here on the show, so let's hop right in. The Niners signed a pass rusher, an intriguing free agent cornerback visiting the San Francisco 49ers on Monday. And, of course, we'll get to some Niners injury news as they prepare for a big Week 10 game at home against the Los Angeles Rams. As far as the Niners roster moves go, they have signed defensive end Andrew Farmer II. More on him here in just a moment. The corresponding roster move on the practice squad, releasing linebacker Stone Blanton, who the Niners brought in as a UDFA following April's NFL draft. A solid player in college, and the Niners gave him some decent coin as a UDFA. They might still like him as a developmental player, but he was let go, brought back to the practice squad, now let go again. And, of course, these moves on the Niners taxi club. More on Farmer here. He played his college football at Lane, Division II in Tennessee, a UDFA in 2023 after he put together a good career at Lane. And he was one of those players who, in his final year, started to pop up on some draft boards. Then he had a couple of pre-draft games and bowl games that he kind of played in to get ready for that draft process. And he was looked at as a sneaky late round type of target. All-star games, I should say, not bowl games. He ended up not getting drafted, obviously, in 2023. And so he's been on a couple of practice squads with the Chargers, with the Broncos. He gives San Francisco an intriguing athletic profile at the defensive end spot. So he's 6'3", 250 pounds, ran a 4.79 40-yard dash in the pre-draft. Of course, the Niners do like a lot of defensive ends who are bigger. You think about a Keion White or a Mykel Williams. They're 280-plus pounds, and the Niners like those players because in this wide nine, they like their defensive ends to get downhill, operate with some runway, and with some steam and momentum to play some bully ball. Of course, San Francisco values having a physical offense and defense. With those bigger defensive ends, though, they can play defensive tackle. They can play defensive end. It gives you some positional versatility, which obviously helps out the Niners' NASCAR package when they want to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. So Farmer is a different player. He's longer. He's more of a lengthier athlete who's smaller at 250 pounds, but he's also a pretty explosive player. Also strong with that chest. Obviously, that's important for a defensive end because you're engaging with offensive linemen in this type of manner. And so a bench press is obviously an important workout for these defensive ends and defensive linemen and offensive linemen in the pre-draft process. So 25 reps at 225 pounds prior to the draft, nothing to scoff at. Now at Lane, when he was playing at the D2 level, 140 tackles, 19 and a half career sacks, more of a late bloomer. Obviously coming out of high school, didn't get a lot of bites to play D1 ball. That's why he went the D2 route. He plays with a fierce style. Niners also value that with Chris Kocurek, and a good athlete on the smaller side compared to what the Niners look for and prioritize at defensive end usually. Now, there are a lot of other teams, especially those that run a 3-4, who like edge rushers who are about 250 pounds. But they're more usually stand-up pass rushers who have good bend, who have good twitch, who are very explosive coming off the edge. Now, as we know, the 49ers did not make a move at the NFL trade deadline. They traded for Keion White last week, but going into the deadline on Tuesday, I looked at pass rusher as a big position of emphasis for San Francisco, and they didn't make a move. So the Niners' edge rusher rotation right now is definitely one of the worst in the NFL. Bryce Huff is the only proven pass rusher on the team. Keion White was a good pickup, especially with the value, but he's more productive and disruptive at defensive tackle. Cleveland Farrell is on the practice squad. I like him as a scheme fit for the Niners, and I applauded that move for the Niners to bring him back. Sam Okuwanu has been a really good developmental story. Robert Beal has done nothing at the NFL level. And I know some people are saying, well, Chase, they did make a move. What's the difference between a trade last week for Keion White and a trade on Tuesday? Well, a few days later, after they traded for Keion White, what happened? They suffered another season-ending injury to a defensive end. Mykel Williams tore his ACL against the Giants. So both of the Niners' starting defensive ends from opening day, Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, now out for the year. And also people are saying, Chase, the Niners have been aggressive. They traded for Brian Robinson. They traded for Skyy Moore. They made the trade for Keion White. Yeah, but context is also really important. Timing of the trade is also really important, right? They traded for B-Rob because they needed a backup running back. They traded for Skyy Moore because they had no wide receivers. They traded for Keion White because there were 2 healthy defensive ends on the 53-man roster. If Mykel Williams would have survived that Giants game without having torn his ACL, I would have been fine with the Niners not making a move. But he tore his ACL, and now you're 1 injury away from scrambling at defensive end again. And so there's been a lot of chatter on social media, and once again, I'm in the crosshairs for some Niner fans on X because I'm being criticized for saying Niners fans should be frustrated. A lot of people are saying Niners fans shouldn't be frustrated that San Francisco didn't make a move. If you're a fan and you are feeling upset and frustrated that John Lynch and the Niners did not make a move, you have every right to feel that way. The Niners are 6-3 in a wide open NFC, and they stood pat. In a way, they pretty much waved the white flag for the rest of the year. Because with this lack of pass rush, they're just not going to be able to be a serious contender in the NFC. Whereas, if they made a move, even for a depth piece, not a star player, in a one-off game in the playoffs, the Niners could have beaten anybody inside the NFC. But now, the Niners have one of the worst and thinnest pass rushing units in the NFL. They had a huge glaring need at pass rusher, and they didn't address it. This is the Niners pass rushing rankings as a team. They have 11 total sacks this year. It's 29th in the NFL. Their second leading sack producer is Nick Bosa. He hasn't played since week 3. Total pressures, 98. That's 28th in the NFL. Their pressure rate, 29.4%. It's 31st in the National Football League. And Niner fans aren't the only ones frustrated. According to Mike Silver, who is very tapped in to the Niners organization, he knew Mike Shanahan from his Broncos days. He's known Kyle Shanahan since he was a teenager. And he's a Northern California guy. The reason so many Niner fans and plenty of people in the building within the Niners organization is what that means, are so frustrated that the team didn't make any trades yesterday isn't because they're in search of some knee-jerk sugar high. It's because this injury-plagued defense, as currently constituted, isn't good enough. And I'll tell you what, it could get really ugly when you go up against legitimate quarterbacks with legitimate passing attacks if you can't generate pressure on the quarterback. Now, I have said so many times on this show, John Lynch has been pretty aggressive with in-season trades. Jimmy Garoppolo, Emmanuel Sanders, Charles Omenihu, Christian McCaffrey, Chase Young. But he wasn't aggressive when you were 6-3. And he should have been aggressive because you needed this for your ball club. You should have given Robert Saleh more ingredients to let him cook. And now he's dealing with one of the worst pass rushing units in the NFL. And if one injury happens, the Niners are back to being screwed. But Chase, the Niners aren't going anywhere this year. They weren't going to win a Super Bowl. You don't know that. Reinforcements have come back of late on offense in the likes of George Kittle, could be coming back Brandon Aiyuk, Ricky Pearsall, Brock Purdy. The offense is coming off its best game of the season. The defense has done a tremendous job, all things considered, with keeping the team's heads above water. Aggressive teams and businesses win. The Niners should have been aggressive. They host Super Bowl 60. You didn't have to give up a first-round pick or a second-round pick. You could have given up a mid- to late-round pick for a player like Draymond Jones or Arden Key. Chase, what does that do? It makes your pass rush better, and the second and third level of your defense is tied to your pass rush. But now you don't have a pass rusher, and I just can't take the Niners seriously as a contender in the NFC the rest of the way. They're going to be competitive. They're going to play hard. They're going to be a joy to watch, but there is a ceiling for what they can accomplish this year. And for me, I think they whiffed in their decision-making process here with not making a move after the Mykel Williams injury. So what do you think? Did the Niners make a mistake not trading for a defensive end? That's today's poll question. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. R for right decision, M for mistake. Let me know. Coming up next here, just around the corner, an intriguing free agent corner visiting the Niners on Monday, a name that a lot of you know, and we have some Niners injury news as well. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Ridge. You need to upgrade your wallet with Ridge. I was able to do that a couple of months ago. It's been a game changer. The sleek, modern, durable design. This is the last wallet that I'll ever have to get, and it's the last wallet you'll ever have to get. And we have a great deal for the faithful that we want to tell you about. But this unique, slim, modern design can hold up to 12 cards plus cash with the Ridge Wallet 2.0. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. There are also 50 plus colors and styles to choose from, including a Niners-themed wallet if you're a diehard fan. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind also knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers? There are also over 100,000 five-star reviews. Losing your wallet, it can also be the worst, right? But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. So for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to ridge.com/chat, use the code CHAT, and you're all set. Now, after you make your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that the San Francisco 49ers Report, Chat Sports, and Chase Sr. sent you. So how about this? A lot of you have been saying Niners need a corner. Now, I do think Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green have played pretty well. I like what I've seen out of Upton Stout, and I think he's a rookie who's going to get better over time. But could the Niners be making another addition at corner? Ian Rappaport with this. It'll be a busy couple of weeks for Asante Samuel Jr. He's visiting the Panthers today on Wednesday. After that, Packers on Thursday, Vikings on Friday, Niners on Monday, Bears on Tuesday, Steelers on Wednesday. A thorough, methodical process. Now, he recently had a spinal fusion surgery last year, had a shoulder injury. This offseason, had to get that surgery. He's been dealing with these stinger-like symptoms for a very long time, and so hopefully this corrects everything that he's been dealing with. And if he gets it corrected, this is a really intriguing corner here who is one of the better outside corners in the NFL, certainly starting caliber. Now, he only played 4 games last year because of that shoulder injury, but in his previous 3 years, since being a second-round pick out of Florida State, his pop's a legendary big game, big play corner with the Patriots and the Eagles back in the day, he had double-digit pass breakups in every year, and he was able to make some plays on the football, obviously with those PBUs, but also picking some passes off, primarily playing on the outside. Now, he's a smaller outside corner, but the Niners don't get scared away by that. Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green are also smaller corners on the perimeter as well. Samuel last played a full season, of course, in 2023, and his Pro Football Focus numbers, again, starting caliber, pretty solid. Overall grade of 73.9, 25th among 128 corners that year. A coverage grade of 75.6, that was 23rd. Gave up 55 catches, that was 19th. He had 11 pass breakups, according to PFF. That's 5th that year, and then he had 2 picks as well. As for some Niners injury news, Ricky Pearsall did not practice today. According to Kyle Shanahan, you can always take it with a grain of salt. Not a setback, but for Ricky Pearsall, that PCL injury has been slow to recover. As for Brandon Aiyuk, this is weird, and I wonder if we're going to see Aiyuk again this year. Kyle Shanahan said he's pretty confident that Aiyuk will play again this season. Just hasn't hit his benchmarks. If he doesn't play this year, I won't be shocked. We're about to embark on week 10. For Brock Purdy, the plan is to push him more this week with that turf toe. He's going to get more reps with the ones, but I would imagine Mac Jones starts again against the Rams. Can he sweep the Rams this year? McCorkle, let's hope so. The Niners injury report. These players limited. D. Winters knee, Jake Brendel hamstring, Tatum Bethune thigh, Bryce Huff hamstring. He's expected to play, but who knows? And then Brock Purdy toe. We'll see what happens at left guard. Ben Barch was not limited. He was full. But Spencer Burford actually played pretty solid against the Giants last week. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm always bringing the heat, the knowledge, the opinions, the insight, the news right here on the show. So keep it locked right here.